Start streaming. Edit the stream. ExPoint Anime Club : Keep your hands off Eizouken! Exclamation park. Exclamation park. Find out how you can join our monthly anime club discussions. Exclamation park. Visibility public. Thumbnail. Change that to the Eizouken one. Save. That should be good. We have a concurrent viewer. It's Katara.
You finally made it.
What's
Yay.
up? Nice to see ya. Nice to see ya. What was a mistake, Tenek? Hello, AJ. How's it going? I've got myself a nice cup of tea here in Mariah's Kiloa mug.
Wait, Kiloa mug? Hold on.
Kiloa mug. Oh, that was a blank mug on that side.
Yeah.
Yep, nope. Kiloa's invisible now. There you go. Electric
that's
coffee.
Cute. I wish I had a Kiloa mug.
It was probably bought from an Etsy seller. The game thumbnail was a mistake. Well, not a mistake. It's just I changed it instantly. How did you even see? Anyway, what's up, Nokia?
Are you all ready for an easy, breezy discussion?
Yeah. Scrub's gonna yell at me.
I am.
Yeah. Because I thought this show was really bad.
Ooh, this is gonna be fun then, because
Not-
I absolutely adore this show.
It wasn't really bad. It wasn't like as bad as Wodakoi. But,
I don't think we'll ever get as heated as Wodakoi. Not even Angel Beats made us as heated as
well, the thing is,
Wodakoi.
we all agreed about Angel Beats. There was no argument there. No. Should we give it, like, another minute to see if anybody else shows up?
Sure, otherwise I guess it'll just be a debate amongst us.
Yeah. Are we finally not going to talk about a show for 3 hours? Is this the time? Anyway, who here in YouTube chat watched Eizouken? Thanks, AJ.
Got any other Eizouken fans in the chat?
Yeah. How's it going? Rewatched for this month's club. Yeah, I had seen the first 2 episodes prior, and I was very excited for this. My excitement was misplaced.
This is my favorite, but it's definitely in my top 10 for shows.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. Then we are going to have a fist fight, I see.
Mm-hmm. Well, we already knew about the disagreements. One of my favorite shows is Little Witch Academia.
I don't mind Little Witch Academia. Like, I enjoyed it when I watched it. What I hated was the OVA that I watched accidentally.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
Mm-hmm. Keep your hands off Eizouken episode list. Love Eizouken, so underrated.
Watch it, though, then I hope you don't mind getting spoiled on every episode.
It's
then.
okay, AJ. You cannot be spoiled. There is no plot here. No conflict.
There is many a conflict.
There is
It's
nothing
just
to
very
spoil.
Small scale.
I disagree. I think that the conflicts are all too large of a scale. Anyway, Gnome says Eizouken is overrated. I think it's is underrated. I think it's overrated. Yeah, like I said, I was very excited to watch this one because I know a lot of people really love it, and from what I had seen of it, it was beautiful, and it was, but it just didn't really have anything else going for it at all.
You really posited that like you were going to deny its art style, and I'm putting down the rock now.
I do have one little thing to say about the art style it's a bit finicky, but overall I think it's very well presented.
I'll admit it got a little weird near the end. while we were waiting on the final animation.
Yeah, sure.
But we can get into that later.
Absolutely. Should we just get started?
I'd say so, yeah.
Okay, the OP. Talk about it, Scrub.
Okay, the OP is really good.
So you say.
Yes. There are certain parts that, like I'd say the ending is probably the weakest part of it, with all the objects spiraling in, but this anime is such a class act at establishing character.
I will argue that it's very easy to establish character when your characters have very little going on, but keep going.
So first of all, Eizouken's a show about animation. It's about the anime process. So a lot of it is different techniques you can do with images or just animation in general.
Mm-hmm.
We have silhouettes, ripple effects, all the good stuff, and it opens with a lot of dance moves from all the characters, and you can see their silhouettes, and you instantly get what they're about and their personalities. And my favorite part about the character design that you can realize with the opening is that each of the three characters are based around a shape. We have Kanamori as one giant rectangle. We have Asakusa as a gremlin circle. And we have Mizusaki as a competent and just cool triangle.
Okay.
And those shapes each have their own distinct meanings that fit those characters. Kanamori is reliable and consistent. Asakusa is carefree and just bubbly and happy. And Mizusaki is extremely competent and, well, I wouldn't really say sharp-witted, but she's definitely the one who has, like, the best idea of what she's doing while having fun with it.
The most well-practiced, at least.
Yeah. And there's a few other characters that we get to meet later on, but those are the three main girls who we get to meet throughout the whole series. And the best part about the opening is absolutely getting to literally watch their minds unravel in it, and seeing all of the stuff that makes up. You see Asakusa's just head unraveled, and it's like a giant messy sketchbook, with Mizusaki's being slightly more neat but also as chaotic, and then Kanamori's is all squares because she's a realist, which is also why she's the only one with a real picture in her mind.
Mm-hmm.
Eizouken good. Opening good. It's also got the bangest tunes. Please, I beg of you, just go look up Easy Breezy right now.
Some of you will really like Easy Breezy, the opening to keep your hands off Eizouken.
Don't do it right now, though.
It's my time.
You need to watch the discussion.
Yeah, you're gonna be here for another 2 3/4 hours. Because no matter how hard we try, we can't manage to talk about a show for fewer than 3 hours. Eizouken is a show about 3 high school girls who all, for different reasons, want to produce anime. And they produce anime. It reminds me a lot of Comic Girls, in a way. Except that I like Comic Girls a lot better. It's definitely a vibes show. It's the kind of show that you watch because it's trying to present a feeling and an idea. So if you're going into it for character development or plots or pretty much anything else, then you're not going to have a great time. I was watching this with my friend Holden, and the thing that he liked the most about it was when they would go into different aspects of the animation process. And they would say, okay, this is animation paper. It has holes at the top. You put pegs in them so that the paper doesn't move when you're drawing. Or, oh, this is an animation camera. It moves like this, and you do this with it. And you move the paper, and it looks like the car's moving across the little background, and you can scroll it like this. where these parts that we colored in yellow, those are going to be cells in they're going to be cells in the final product, so our background artists don't have to draw that. If they do, it's bad. Like, and of course, all of the stuff that goes into Midori's concept art, how her brain works in figuring out how all of these different fantastical machines would actually work in reality. He really enjoyed all of that, and I think that if the show had focused on that completely and been more of a documentary style thing that just spent one episode, every episode focuses on a different aspect of the animation process or the production of anime, then I feel like it would have been a show that I just didn't like. I think it would have been a very good idea that was very well presented. That just wasn't for me. As it stands, the show tried to do 2 or 3 different things, and I don't think it did any of them except that one well. So it has these 3 charming characters that make it seem like a cute girls or a club show, but they don't do anything with the characters, and the characters themselves aren't strong enough to hold for 12 episodes without some kind of conflict or change. They have these external conflicts with the Men in Black going after fucking Mizukoshi, I can't remember her name, model girl. Mizusaki. I will not remember that. Actually, there's a mnemonic. Mizu is water, sake is sake. Water sake. Mizusaki. Sure, why not? They have the Men in Black going after Mizusaki and her parents not wanting her to go into the anime club. They have the stuff with the music in the last episode and a few small conflicts in between like that. But the conflicts either tend to get resolved extremely quickly. Like, the very last one was fine, but basically no matter what conflict you introduce in the last episode, it's not going to be enough. The conflict with her parents is resolved instantly and completely unearned. And the other conflicts are just them trying to do more things, which is fine. It's just they see so much success that it's hard to feel invested in their journey, I think. Everything kind of goes their way. And it's not like they don't earn it, but there's no real, like, tension with it. It's just, this is the problem and this is what we're going to do about it. And then they do it. And if it doesn't work, they're like, okay, we'll do this about it instead, and then it works. So I don't feel like they have the character appeal of a cute girls show or a club show, or the conflict appeal of a show about conflict. They're just left with their artistic presentation, which is very good, but it's not what I come to media for. And when I say very good, there are still problems with it. Like the parts that are all watercolor, where we're looking at their imaginations going wild and we can see all of these machines interacting with the real world. Those parts are beautiful, obviously. But the other parts, like the art style's fine, I don't have a problem with that, but the animation can get a little bit choppy. Not to mention, like, I don't have a good enough eye for animation and art to say that things are off model consistently, and for all I know, it may have been an intentional choice. I just feel like the way things move in the real life sequences tends not to be particularly strong. Like, I remember one scene where Kanamori is sitting in a chair and she does this very dramatic flop and then sticks her legs straight up in the air and crosses her legs over each other, and it's like 3 frames. Which, the character animation is great. You can absolutely tell who these 3 people are. They all move distinctly. It's very characterful, but the technical animation of the way that they move doesn't really strike me as all that impressive very often.
I got a few pushbacks on your talks.
By all means.
So I feel like this is going to be a lot more of a call and response than an episode by episode discussion.
Mm-hmm.
So, first of all, I guess I'll go backwards, since I not good at remembering things. For the character animation, well, I can agree that sometimes it definitely does get very choppy, especially right before they start showing the animation that they do. Like, clearly that's what they want people to be impressed by the most. I will say, I think a lot of it is intentional, especially when it comes to, like, off-modelness. Um, Asakusa, or I guess we can just go with Midori for it to be easier. Midori is like almost consistent. She's like off model more than she is on model to just show her goofy side. It's like she is ADHD personified as a person, and because of that, she is goofy. She is wacky. She's just like a little. She's like what you think of when you hear Little Gremlin.
Absolutely.
And the like time she is on model is when she's taken aback by something. Like the best example being episode 1 when first discovering how cool Hayao Miyazaki is. They just dead ass recreated Hayao Miyazaki. So while I can agree that like sometimes there definitely is some choppiness, I would argue that a lot of the animation that might be seen as lazy or an issue is intentional.
I'm not saying it's lazy, because it's clear that this show was made by people who love animation. I'm sure that if they could, they would have spent 1,000 hours on every frame. I think that the issues, assuming they weren't intentional design choices, were probably mostly caused by production crunch, just like we see in the show itself.
So the other thing I want to go over is, you say the characters don't have a lot of character development. I would argue they do. They just don't have character growth.
Yeah, that's something that Holden and I talked about a lot when we were watching it.
I would say that these are very well developed characters with they're I'm not going to say like they're layers upon layers or anything, obviously, but like I would say that they clearly established what they're about, what they're good at, and what they love, and what they want to do. Like the major principles of a character, and they fill those questions really well. Like only one character gets like any kind of semblance of a backstory, quote unquote, and that's Kanamori at the department store.
That's not true. Mizusaki also gets her episode with her grandma.
That's true. That's true. But my point is that like we still get established why each character is the way they are. And I would say that's very good development. There's no, I feel weird saying this because it's almost something I don't agree with when it comes to writing, but I feel like the idea of conflict, which is totally fine because you've stated that's not your type of thing, but I feel like the idea of like major conflict in this show would make this show worse. This is like you're here to vibe.
I agree.
To discover.
I think that the show's attempts at introducing conflict make it worse.
I would say I don't know if I agree with that. Mainly because my favorite episode is episode 8, right before the animation with the giant robot.
The one with Mizusaki's parents?
No, there's the whole chase with the robot club.
Yes.
And conflict with the student council. That, I would say, is some of the most fun this show has.
Sure. I'm pretty sure we're still talking about the same episode.
Yeah. I won't deny that the conflict is very quickly resolved with Mizusaki's parents.
Yeah.
But to me, that feels almost like a formality that is just something I pass over, and I'm still just having a good time after I got to watch giant robot animation, and also just one of the funniest chase scenes ever, where this robot president
And that's fine.
is just
That's a
going
matter of
crazy and
priorities.
having the time of his life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's just a matter of priorities. Like, if the conflict with Mizusaki's parents is less important than the robot chase to you, then that's fine. But it's not to me. So I saw
Fair.
the robot chase as a distraction from the thing that I was interested in, which got immediately resolved in favor of the robot chase.
Hmm.
Like, we'll talk about that all later. But what I would say is that these characters are very simple, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
They, like you said, they don't have layers upon layers of personal, like, internal conflict going on. They are all about one thing. And they are all united in their desire to make this anime. Each of them portraying, like, a different aspect of
Yeah.
anime production.
We have a director. We have the artists, and we have the producer.
Yes. And in that sense, it reminds me very much of a show like No Biori, where the whole point is sitting back and watching these characters be themselves as honestly as they can.
Yeah, so we won't get into it now, but I will warn you, I am going to take some point in this discussion to talk about why Kanamori is my favorite character of all time.
Sure. I think that when you have a show with simple characters, Holden compared it to One Piece a lot, which I've never interacted with. But
Well, I'll be able to tell if Holden's correct or not.
he says that the characters in One Piece don't change very much. But they're constantly put up against people who highlight their personalities in different ways. Like, I can talk about No Biori, and I can say that the situations that the girls are in and the way that they interact with each other makes the simplicity of their personalities seem different or looked at in different angles. You don't have to have this incredibly complicated and nuanced character as long as the thing that they are about works in many different situations. And you can see it contrasted against different things. And I don't think this show does that very well. I think for the most part, the episodes are interchangeable. The conflicts are largely the same. The situations that they're in are largely the same. The people they interact with are largely the same. And they are largely the same.
I don't know how I don't think I would agree with that. I feel like each character is highlighted in a different arc. Like, we have, for the giant robot, that one is, the highlight is Mizusaki.
Mm-hmm.
For the original, short, I would say it's more of everyone coming together to see if they can even make this.
Yep.
And for the final one, I would argue it's both Midori and Kanamori, who are just basically trying to rein each other in.
Mm-hmm. See, what was I going to say? I think that things got very interesting around episode 2 or 3 when Kanamori had to rein the other two in, like you said, and say, you can't hand draw every single frame. You can't spend all of this time thinking about the inner workings of this machine. We have to get something on paper. We have a deadline. Do it like this, work for 48 hours a day, and just get a product done. That's the only way this is going to work. When you have that realism versus idealism conflict between the characters, I think that was when the show was at its best.
I would argue that realism versus conceptualism is, not as much part of the giant robot arc. Is still part of the final UFO Wars one.
Sure. I just think that they took the very direct inter-character conflict and made it more abstract in general to the show's detriment. I will also say that Tenek over here says that it's very clear what kind of show this is from episode 1, and I agree. That
I would also agree.
Yeah, no, this show has a very good idea of what it is, and it mostly sticks with it. It is a vibes show. It's a show that's trying to capture a feeling and an idea. My problem with it is that it successfully captures that idea. It gets those emotions and that beauty of creativity down absolutely perfectly in the first 2 episodes, and then it has 10 more episodes to go. The show can't support its own weight for 12 episodes. Not with that alone, and that is all it's got.
I still think it can support itself. I will agree that it does sort of lose itself near the end, while we're waiting on Midori to get over her writer's block.
Mm-hmm.
I won't deny that. But for me, I think after the first animation, that was the point where it's like, I don't really need a reason to like keep watching. This is just fun.
Yep. Well, I thought I don't really need a reason to keep watching. I've seen all I need to see, and I'm done now. But
that's fair. I guess the difference between us is that I wanted more of fun, and you were like, I understand what this is.
Yeah, no, I've seen it. Like, if you give me 10 more episodes, if you give me 10 more plates of cake, my tummy is going to get sick, and I'm not going to want this cake anymore. Just give me the 1 plate of cake.
Give me the whole cake, baby. Give me all of that cake. I think we've just discovered the difference in our mentality.
Well, this also isn't my favorite kind of cake. This is like, I don't know, a chocolate buttercream cake, and like, yeah, I'll get some. I guess I'll have a piece if it's here.
It's chocolate buttercream with coconut flakes on top. Don't undersell it.
If you say so. I guess I could like pick off the coconut flakes and like put them in my mouth one at a time, like, yum, coconut.
Congratulations, this analogy is stupid.
I love these coconut flakes that I have to dig for through this disgusting chocolate buttercream.
Okay, moving on to the next point.
Balrog is praising Kanamori in the chat.
We'll get to Kanamori.
Sure.
We'll get to the ideal example of a producer.
We'll get to the ideal feminine form.
Yeah.
You may not like it, but this is what peak performance looks like.
And I just show you a rectangle.
Since we are ostensibly talking about the OP, I do want to say something about it always irked me. It's very visually fun. I have always said that you can pretty much completely accurately tell the quality of a show from the quality of the OP. And all of the problems I have with this show are also present in the OP. It's very beautiful. There's just not much substance to it. You just
don't think there's a whole lot there?
Yeah. Even reusing the footage multiple times. Like, you can get away with it every now and then for, like, the sake of emphasis. But I would say maybe 15% of the OP is repeats of footage. Maybe more. Plus, like, the footage doesn't really have much to do with the show itself. You mentioned the stuff about, like, their brains unfolding, and that was very good. That was my favorite shot in the OP. But the dance moves are, like, vaguely characterful.
I would
then
say that they have a lot of character to them.
they're good. I'm not being fair to them.
I won't deny that they get reused a lot.
Mhm.
I think that's more of a statement on animation. Like I want to say like it's professing the ideas of how animation is um while using those same techniques, but those same techniques is cutting corners.
Mhm.
So that's something that happens in every anime production. So that's kind of I'm kind of full of myself if I actually try and present that as intentional.
I don't know. I think cutting corners can be intentional. It's not like they pulled a Wonder Egg priority or anything.
Maybe I should select that for the next anime
I would
discussion.
actually love to do Wonder Egg priority.
We're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
There is something I wanted to talk about that you did not bring up in your
In my
initial
rant?
arguments.
Sure.
And that is how much I adore the setting of this anime.
Oh, I had nothing to say about the setting because I was only talking about bad things. The setting of this anime is incredible.
It's so it really is, like, you can tell that Midori is very much that kind of Miyazaki type where you see something and you just want to draw it out and see how it works, like all the mechanisms of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what this setting is.
Yep.
It is just a haphazard construction of different things.
I love what they said about it in one of the later episodes. They said it was like a conglomeration of decades of trial and error.
Like you have the shopping district that's on a slant
Mm-hmm.
and like half sinking underwater.
Yep.
You have just two clock towers with one of which being obscured like half of the time.
Mm-hmm. They decided to try to go for canals at some point instead of roads.
And it just did. They wanted
Like,
to be
nobody
Venice,
likes
and
this.
it
We're not going to
didn't
do that
work.
anymore.
And the fact that the school is so haphazard that that the teacher's lounge has to be inside the swimming pool.
Mm-hmm. All the crisscrossing bridges and the buildings that are stacked on top of each other, the underground tunnels. Just, it's amazing.
I would absolutely kill to just explore this world.
Mm-hmm.
And we do get a lot of exploration.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is absolutely a world that I can understand pulling inspiration from to make something.
Yep, no, they take full advantage of it, too. I'm really happy that this show doesn't just stay in a club room. As cool as their club room is, the fact that they go out and explore this wonderful setting they have every single episode, and it's never the same place twice. It's really just fantastic stuff. So imaginative and creative, and it really makes sense that the people who live here would want to use it as a setting for their show.
So I think we can sum up our initial arguments as me enjoying the straight line of this narrative and you wanting more of an arc in that line.
I'm not sure I would say an arc, but that's basically right. Yeah, I want the line to be bolder. I want there to be more line.
That's fair. I'm over here just slurping up that spaghetti of a line and enjoying it, and you want, you know what? I wasn't feeling angel hair.
I could use some sauce on this. Yeah,
I'd argue there's enough sauce, but I think we got the idea.
No, it's just the things that the show does well, it does very well. It's just those are not the things that most appeal to me in a show. The backgrounds convey the point of the show, the beauty of real life conveyed through drawing. Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So, should we go ahead and start taking this episode by episode?
I would say so, yes.
All right, episode 1, The Greatest World. Midori Asakusa is a high school girl who has had a dream to create her own anime since she was a child. When she visits a screening event held by the Anime Club with her friend Sayaka Kanamori, a popular model, Tsubame Mizusaki talks to them. She is in the same school as them and wants to be an animator. First off,
is that it?
That's all we've got on IMDb. I'll go to Wikipedia.
Right.
Keep your hands off Eizouken. Wikipedia. Anime. Midori Asakusa is inspired as a child to become an anime creator. As a freshman in high school, Asakusa drags her friend Sayaka Kanamori to an anime screening on campus. After seeing her classmate and amateur model Tsubame Mizusaki chased by men in black clothes, the two girls help her escape. As the trio regroups in a nearby laundromat, Asakusa discovers that Mizusaki also has the dream of creating anime, though her parents disapprove. The two exchange sketchbooks, with Asakusa showing skill in background and set design while Mizusaki focused on character art. The two of them come up with a fantastical scenario. After combining the drawings together, the two decide to try working on making an anime together, encouraged by Kanamori, who sees their venture as a potential moneymaker. So yes, that's it. First off, the way that this episode opens with the rainy day and the car and Asakusa at home alone watching this anime on TV.
I feel like the car ride is almost like a reference to Spirited Away.
I could see that
stuff.
For sure. It has that same vibe, absolutely, where you're a kid and it's humid and twilight and a little bit cold in the back of a car, and you're like half asleep on your way home from somewhere, and your mind's starting to wander a bit, which is just a very good feeling. But then she's at home and she watches this anime, and what I love is that it's very clear that this anime is the kind of anime that could inspire someone to become a creator. They don't phone it in. Like, it's a joke that when I watch an anime, sometimes I will say, this looks like an anime that would be playing on TV in another anime. Because whenever anime has to show anime, it's usually just cheap garbage, and I would never believe that anybody is a fan of this. But when I'm watching the thing that Asakusa is watching, I think, this is incredible. I can totally see a kid just sitting 3 inches from the television on their knees, just like enraptured with this. And that's part of how you can tell how much passion the creators of this show had for it, is all of the details and all of the little personality things that shine through in it. Scrub, are you still with me?
No, I'm still here.
Cool.
I was waiting for my turn.
No, you can have a turn.
Okay. Yeah, the opening is incredible. I love just, we instantly know and we instantly understand that, like we've already seen this kid, this Midori, who loves to, like, roam around and loves this adventure, and then sees it on TV and is just like, it is that point where you just realize that, like, things don't just exist, they're made by somebody.
No, I loved that line when she said that was the moment I realized that people made anime.
Yeah, you can literally look around your entire room right now, wherever y'all are watching this discussion from, and everything around you was made by someone.
I want to pick up a stick so badly. Please tell me I have a stick in here.
You don't have a stick.
No, it's in the game room. I have a toothpick, but that was made by somebody.
Somebody planted.
Probably not. Yeah, no, everything in my room was made by someone, even the room. A lot of it was made by Mariah.
Analogy works. Got him.
Yep. I'm defeated. But yeah, I was watching a video by MapCrow the other day, who is a tabletop RPG YouTuber. and he was going on a rant about AI art, and he talked about the chain of inspiration, where every artist in the world can look at the people who inspired them, and then look at the people who inspired those artists, and look at the people who inspired those artists, all the way back to the cave paintings. And I feel like this is a good representation of that, of Midori looking at the TV and having that moment where she realizes, oh, this isn't just something that happens, this is something that people do, and this is something that I can do. That was portrayed very well. Like I said, the first 2 episodes of the show are just top tier when it comes to what they're trying to do. Like, from the very first shot, when you can see Midori in the car, just the way her design is tells you exactly who she is. You know that this is a small goblin child who lets her mind wander and gets incredibly invested in every little thing that she has ever tried to do. Luckily, she's only ever tried to do one thing. Like, the background art and the atmosphere of the rain, just everything about this show's creation of vibes is immaculate.
It's just a really good scene, and then we get to the school, which instantly just hooked me because of the setting. We already went over that.
Yep.
And we get to meet our second main character, Kanamori.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna go off yet. But
okay.
I will say
I'll let you choose the moment.
Yeah. Kanamori is instantly established as just kind of like just shitter energy incarnate.
Shitter energy?
Yeah.
All right.
She instantly lets us comes in just saying I got you the stuff that you wanted. So she's a good friend, but then she immediately takes the change as a service fee.
Mm-hmm.
So she'll always back you up, but like we instantly learn that money means like a lot to her. And she just has this. I just love the way they animate Kanamori's expressions with just constantly giving her just like an open like tooth expression.
Yep. Yeah, the way she almost never opens her mouth. Her teeth are always clenched together. That's really good. I'm pretty sure I have a friend who made a D&D character based on her, having watched her now.
It's hilarious how she always mentions that she gets so much sleep and that's why she's so tall, and then she's like the only character with consistent like bags under her eyes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kanamori's an interesting one. I always like the money-motivated character, especially when they aren't an altogether bad person. Like, Naofumi in Shield Hero. As horrible as Shield Hero is.
Yeah, until he stops being motivated by money.
Yeah, like, I haven't seen the second season yet, but Naofumi in Shield Hero is such a fun character to watch. Mostly because he at least justifies things to himself as being completely money-related. But when you've got Kanamori in a production studio, and money is an enormous part of the production, it's just really cool to see how that interacts with the other two characters, mostly. Then we have my favorite character, Mizusaki, whose name I can't remember.
Yeah, she's getting chased by as
the
FBI.
They
say, Men in Black, who are just basically her butlers.
Yep. No, Mizusaki. The reason she's my favorite is purely vibes based. Mostly because I feel like she has the least going on of any of the characters, especially since her personal conflict isn't one.
You know what? I'll give it to you there. I think Midori and Kanamori have a lot more going on. I won't say like that makes her a bad character, but I would say she's definitely has the least that's like talked about or like looked at in the show.
But of what is explored, it captures me a lot more. I really like watching her interact with her grandma. That was my favorite part of the show. When you can see, like, not only how she positively interacts with somebody who isn't part of her club, which I think is the only time we see that aside from Kanamori's flashback. Like,
I mean, there's all the time she's thanking fans of hers.
Sure, but they aren't characters.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, you have Kanamori with her grandma, and you can see how she is when she isn't animating. I guess we should talk about this when we get to, like, episode 8 or 9 or whatever it is. But you can see how she is when she isn't animating, and you can see how that affects her love of animation anyway, which I think is how you should do really simple, like, one-concept characters like this. You need to...
She has artist eyes.
Yes.
She sees something in the world and tries to figure out how you recreate it in drawing.
Mm-hmm. No, I feel like you should have the character and have their one note, and then just show how everything else in their life affects that one note. Like, you can... If you have this single concept that you are turning into a character, you have to explore every single angle of it as deeply as you possibly can. And I feel like with Mizusaki, they started doing that. But that's not yet. Scrub?
And the rest of the episode is just them coming together and learning about each other. They have a goofy chase scene with one of the guards.
The goofy chase scene is very fun.
The goofy chase scene is just like... A lot of people compare this show to, like, Ed, Edd and Eddy.
Yeah, it has Scooby-Doo vibes, too.
Yeah, I would say it's more Scooby-Doo than Ed, Edd and Eddy.
Mm-hmm. Bye, Gnome. Mizusaki interacts with her parents. Yeah, but again, that's also Mizusaki. And her parents matter so little. But
we can get to episode 8.
We'll get there. Yeah, Mizusaki... They set up this conflict in episode 1 with the Men in Black and Mizusaki not being allowed to join the anime club. They set that up in episode 1, and it is the only conflict they set up in episode 1. Like, they don't show Kanamori, like, being super poor and needing money or anything like that, or being in debt to the mob. They don't show Midori, I don't know, getting kicked out of her house or something. Like, they don't show Midori not having friends or needing to interact, like, engage with society, anything like that. The only conflict they introduce in episode 1 is Mizusaki is not allowed to join the anime club because of armed guards.
I would say they don't, it's not a setup, but it's something they sort of resolve, is that Midori is clearly, like, very timid when it comes to her passions.
Mm-hmm.
And without the assistance of Kanamori, she would never have created anime.
Yeah, for sure.
She would have just stuck to doing background designs, and if we went through all of, like, high school and whatnot, this would end up just being a weird Bocchi the Rock.
The problem with that is that she knows Kanamori from the get-go. They were friends before the series started. Or comrades.
In middle school.
They were comrades before the series started. So there's nothing to overcome there. There's no conflict, there's no growth. She already has the thing that is going to get her over her problems, or at least help her with her problems. There's no need to, like, practice talking to people. There's no need to give presentations. Like there's no triumph moment for her really, because especially since like later on in the Robot Club episodes, we see her struggling to communicate the ideas that she needs to communicate, and we see the background artists giving her substandard work because of it, while Kanamori just kind of sits there and lets it happen. But
I don't want to sound pretentious when I say this.
Well, okay, then don't.
But I'm going to anyway.
All right.
I feel like this show, it would almost kill the vibes that it wants to go for if it went for something more triumphant as opposed to just the mundanity and the just flow of existence that is real life, where problems aren't just like resolved but just end.
Mundanity is fine. There are plenty of shows that pull off mundanity. Again, I point to No Numbiori, which is a beautiful mundane series that doesn't have these big triumphant moments. It's just people living their lives. You can point to stuff like Aria the Animation, which I've never seen, but I've heard very good things about. You know, there are all kinds of slice of life shows that do stuff like this. Maybe this is just me, but I feel like this show simply doesn't really pull it off. I don't think that the people are presented in an interesting enough way, because I hate needing to justify myself. Why am I a professional?
You're really good at it when you actually have the time to write it down, not when you have to spit out your thoughts instantly.
Oh, wow. Wow, she's criticizing me, chat.
I'm just... Hey, maybe it's criticism. I think I'm just stating a fact. Got him.
Wow. Boom. I'm also so sleepy.
Yeah, that's probably more it.
No, I would just say that of all the shows that I've seen that try to portray a mundane reality, this is one of the ones that succeeds most at being mundane. And that's just a very hard sell for people who want to watch television.
I suppose that's fair.
But anyway, we'll go back to the plot setup. Because if this show is actually trying to be a mundane slice of life school club show, then why is the conflict that you're setting up that armed guards are going to kidnap one of your club members if she joins the anime club? Why are you setting up Scooby-Doo chase sequences?
It's fun.
It is fun. Not gonna say it's not fun. It's just that it sets this show up to be something that isn't what you just said it is. Tenek doesn't think they'd kidnap her. I am hyperbolizing on purpose. But also, the show certainly makes it seem like they'd kidnap her. Like, they're clearly dressed like CIA agents, and you know what they do. Or I guess you don't. That's kind of the point.
I think because it's so goofy that it makes the scenario more lighthearted.
Mm-hmm.
And in that sense, I think it still fits the vibe. I feel like having one crazy event or like one like silly thread does not destroy like the whole mundane vibes.
I kind of
I think
disagree.
that's almost part of mundanity, is just that one crazy thing that's going on in your school.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I don't completely agree. Because I feel like if this is trying to be a vibes show, then having conflicting vibes is probably a mistake. But, just taking the show on its own merits, when you have this ridiculous setting with these just stupid girls making this anime, then it's not totally out of character that, yeah, of course one of them is being chased by armed guards. What... Thanks for coming, Tino. But, of course one of them is being chased by armed guards. But, if you're going to introduce this conflict in your first episode, and it is the only conflict you're going to introduce in your first episode, and you're implying that this is a thread that's going to continue for the rest of your show, and that it's going to be big, because 1/3 of your characters are directly affected by it in a very major way, then you cannot just end it. You can't barely bring it up and then end it 2/3 of the way through the series.
You know what? I agree with you on that one.
Cool.
That is I will concede that point to you.
Because they're setting up inter-character conflict. They are saying that Mizusaki has a conflict with her parents, and by doing that, they have created something that needs to be resolved. And instead of resolving it, they end it. There never was a conflict, actually. They hired these armed guards to kidnap their daughter for kicks. Because they thought they might not like her making anime. But actually they do, so it's fine. Yeah, Tenek rightly says the reason for the prohibition is left kind of vague. Yeah.
It really is. That is the sad part. We can just get into it now.
I guess, sure.
Because I mean, we're just gonna. The whole idea behind it is basically the dad being like, "Well, I told them she can't do anime because I thought you said that." And the mom's like, "No, I didn't." And the dad's like, "Well, I guess I'm the fool."
The conflict was in her head all along. Sounds like your life. Yeah, no, it really is. Both her parents are actors, and her dad.
I feel like if they just doubled down on the idea that the parents wanted her to follow suit in acting, and then she won them over with the animation, and like they were hesitant, but they allowed it for now.
But Scrub, that is a triumph moment. Apparently we can't have those.
You really just gotta twist my words like this, huh?
You
really just gonna do that to me?
A little bit.
A little bit?
No, like, again, it sets up these characters for victories. And they get wins instead.
I would say they set them up for just this one.
Fair enough. They mostly set up Mizusaki, you're right.
If it were up to me, I feel like either make this more mundane or
cut it.
Or cut it.
Yeah, no, like, basically, every time there is a conflict in this series, I think this show would be better if this weren't happening. If we could just watch these girls do their thing.
I like it better when it's just Midori struggling with basically controlling her ADHD, or Kanamori just trying to make sure everything goes smoothly.
Yep, well, it's again, what kind of show does this want to be? Does it want to be a character-based cute girls club show? Because conflict in those comes from characters interacting with each other, and usually it's very small. You don't get armed guards, and you don't get... I mean, sometimes you'll get issues where entire projects are, like, up in the air at the last moment because of a ridiculous mistake that's beyond your control. But usually things aren't that high stakes.
I think that's the only thing that doesn't work for me, though.
Sure.
I'll defend the student council when we get to it.
The student council is a little overblown, but it's fine. Like, student councils
we'll
can
get
be.
to it. I feel like we've talked about episode 1 enough.
Yep.
We could go over like the laundromat and like the imagination sequence, but I feel like for each imagination sequence, it's good.
Yeah, that's really all there is to say about it. Like, when I was talking with Holden, I asked him, if this show did not have the animation sequences, what would you rate it? How good would it be?
I'd give it a 6 out of 10.
See, I wound up giving it a 6 out of 10, I think. Because so much of this show is wrapped up in the vibes and the presentation, and it doesn't have much else outside of that. And the vibes and the presentation, I guess, are just less important to me.
4 of those stars come from Kanamori.
I do want to say one more thing about the first episode. And this is just me raving about the show. I put it in the Discord chat for you. But it's when they are just leaving the laundromat and Midori asks Mizusaki, how fast can you run? And Mizusaki says, in elementary school, I said I could run 100 meters in 1 second. And Midori just says, then we'll be there in 8. And that line is so beautiful to me. Just, you take it at face value, this very imaginative and childlike declaration that has nothing to do with the real world, and you run with it. Not even any mention of it. And Kanamori goes along with it too, just like, okay, we're running. We're gonna run to the station now. It's just such a very great friendship moment that really hits. Tenet criticizes the OST. I didn't notice it. I noticed it being really cool. But
I like the OST.
Yeah, I didn't notice any undue repetition.
Would the OST track 9 be the one where it's like do 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 do? Like it's just the squeaky noise that comes in whenever they're working on anime production, then they go through the montage?
Let's find out. I'm willing to get this stream demonetized. Eizouken OST. View full playlist. Track 9. I guess you're not listening to the stream. There you go. Ah, shit, I closed Discord.
This is kind of just like the, great job. It's just kind of like the imagination sequence.
Yep.
OST.
Yeah, that's what Tenet was criticizing, is that they play it in every animation sequence. And,
I mean, I think it's fine.
It's very good music, they just didn't like that they played it every single time. It got on their nerves. Yo, yow, yow, yowie. What's up, Fred? Nice to see you. Episode 2.
Yeah, episode 2. We're on episode 2.
The Eizouken takes the stage. The trio decide to start a new club to get around Mizusaki's parents, convincing a couple teachers that they plan to create a live-action film club Eizouken. The girls find themselves in an abandoned rundown storehouse as their new club room. Mizusaki and Asakusa imagine another fantastical scenario, and Asakusa ends up falling off a rusty railing while Kanamori tries to think of how best to budget the club funds. Asakusa tries to convince her teacher to get desks, but lets slip that they want to use it for anime, forcing Kanamori to step in and convince the teacher to let them use it anyway. The trio gets the key to an old storage room and discover a past school anime club left behind drawings, cells, and equipment for creating animation. Asakusa and Mizusaki end up finishing the drawing of the wind turbine outside. The next day, Kanamori discovers that someone bought the footage of Asakusa falling in the club room. Who is their advisor, and why does he exist?
Fujimoto, he's just there to,
My beard is heavy.
His beard is heavy.
His beard is heavy.
He's got bad circulation.
Like,
and he's literally just there to basically use it as an excuse to play video games. And
sure.
I think the idea behind him, and I think it's very funny, is that you'd think he's like the wizened mentor type character, but he just says random shit and the girls just take it as like wise advice and they get some ideas off of it.
Sure. I think that
On
that's a good
accident.
idea. I don't think he was enough of a character. I think they tried to have the catchphrase with "my beard is heavy" and just have him be like a quirky presence in the show, but the show is already full of so many quirky presences that he didn't land for me.
For me, he's just there enough where it's like I know him, and he's just there to basically be a bad teacher, and he's the excuse for them to just go off and do all of this honestly dangerous exploration.
Mm-hmm.
Because he just sucks, and
Yep.
and I love that.
I think it would be funnier if he were more of a presence. Like, he doesn't have to say anything. You could just have him, like, in the background of a shot when they're walking through the sewers, like, shaking off his shoe while he's checking his phone. Like, just having him around, I think, would make him better.
I think it would
Like, he doesn't even have to say
know.
anything. Just every now and again, a little sight gag in the background.
Teutonic, we can go over that point later. When I go over the Kanamori discussion, which I believe will probably happen around like episode 9.
Sure.
But I think he's just fine the amount of time we got him. He's not like
Yeah, no, he's fine. I don't have a problem with him being around. I just think he could have been better.
No, yeah. The student council and Domiki, when we get to her, Sound Girl, they're much more important characters. He's just kind of there to really just remind the audience that there is technically a school presence and that, like, this world is so haphazard that the faculty and the school are just giant pushovers.
No. Tenek, I will say, before we get into our big discussion about Kanamori, I love the way she interacts with the imagination sequences. We're just like, fine, I'll fix the spaceship, I guess.
Breaks through a wall.
Yep. No, I think that they integrated her very well into the imagination sequences. I really liked Midori falling off the railing. I thought that that was going to be a bigger thing. Like, I didn't expect her to actually get injured or anything, but
You expected the fact that that it was sold as accident footage would be a bigger thing?
I did expect more to come of that. And I understand that it was it's introducing the idea that the club making money is going to be a conflict later. I just feel like, hey, this wound up on national news that this school is unsafe. They put these children in an old rusty warehouse as a club room, and one of them fell and could have died. I feel like that would have been a bigger deal. And I thought that they were going to get into, like, big trouble.
I believe that the idea behind it is that it sets up mostly their conflict with the student council and the rest of the faculty. It's like the start of it.
Yeah.
I will say it's very accurate to real life, where that becomes a big sensation in the media for about a few hours,
Yep.
and then nobody cares.
You're right. It's just that this is not real life. This is fiction. And
That is fair.
whenever you make a big deal out of something in fiction, it needs to be a big deal in the fiction. Like, there are so many plot threads that could have sprung from that. Like, for one, it's a great excuse for the school to shut down the club altogether. They can at least say, well, you can't use this club room anymore and we don't have another one for you, so you're out, you're disbanded, sorry. And then they have to do it without club funding because they're just doing it now. which is another reason why they would have to make money, which adds more conflict to the show in a way that relates directly to the thing that they're already doing. The only reason I can think of for them not doing something like that is because they set up the conflict with Mizusaki's parents not wanting her to be in the anime club. But yeah, I just expected more from that. And then it just kind of got dropped. It was a bubbling undercurrent. It could be pointed to as a starting point for things with the student council and the faculty, but those were never like serious conflicts. At least they didn't feel like it. I know they were supposed to be. Could I ask, and maybe no one here knows, but why are the students in charge of fixing the club room? They didn't break it. Like, I understand, or at least anime has taught me, that Japanese high school students are instilled with this sense of communal responsibility, and that there is this culture where you're supposed to keep your school clean and repaired, but there's a line between sweeping the floors after class and doing contracting work. Right? Like,
yeah.
Am I wrong in saying that there is no world in which this should be the anime club's responsibility?
No, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say it's once again just there to establish that the faculty sucks.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And like this issue is just because I'm not Japanese and I don't know where the lines are in what students' responsibilities should be. Surely a Japanese viewer would watch this and be like, wow, that faculty sucks. But I'm sitting back here from the other side of the ocean thinking, like, is this because the faculty sucks, or is this something that would actually happen? Which, that's not a criticism of the show, obviously. That's just me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it reminds me a whole lot of, have you seen From Up on Poppy Hill?
No, I haven't.
It's a very good Ghibli movie, that's also very similar. It's about, it's not so much about creativity versus realism, although that's sort of a way the themes get expressed. It's about tradition versus modernity. And there is this conglomerate of clubs that meets in a building called the Latin Quarter, which is just, it's a Ghibli building. It's imaginative and it shouldn't stand up on its own. It's old-fashioned and there are crosswalks running across the whole building. It's stuffed to the brim with old papers and bookshelves and just so much bespoke shit that's built for individual clubs that no school would ever allow it to actually exist. But the club room reminds me a lot of that. In that it's this very rundown and old building that people see potential in because they are the creatives who inhabit it. Also, From Up on Poppy Hill has a very fun subplot where the two main characters are developing a romantic relationship and discover that they might be half-siblings. And the guy...
I did hear that there was an incest in there.
Yeah, no, the guy is like, well, we might be related, so we should probably... And the girl's like, yeah, but only by blood! It's not like we were socialized together as children or anything. Which is a very fun twist on the usual formula.
You know what? I guess we'll save that for the Up on Poppy Hill discussion. We don't have time to get into that.
Nobody ever thinks that's funny. Everybody's like, ooh, and I'm just like, yeah, hilarious.
No, I think it's hilarious.
No,
like
you're children, so maybe don't. But like, Hey, don't have kids, all
Yikes
right?
for me.
Anyway, I do forget if they're actually related or not. Should we go to episode 3?
Yep, episode 3.
Episode 3, let's accomplish something.
That's a mood. That's me every day. I open up my Google Docs to start working on my novel,
Mm-hmm.
and then I write 2 words,
The...
and then I get distracted by a raccoon dog.
After earning $300 from selling the accident footage, Kanamori ends up spending most of it on tools and supplies to repair the club room. Meanwhile, Mizusaki and Asakusa keep getting distracted by various fauna that wander around their club. When they get stuck on the roof during a hailstorm, Kanamori breaks through a weakened wall to save them, only to discover the girls found another way down. Later, the Eizouken advisor reminds the girls they will soon have to give a presentation to earn more funding and status for the club. After a lengthy debate, the girls decide to make an animated short film featuring a machete-wielding girl wearing a gas mask fighting a tank to impress the audience. Breaking through the wall was incredible. Very good stuff.
It was very funny. That's the kind of conflict that's the best in this show.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's just like a very small thing that leads to like a goofy punchline,
Yep.
like we're repairing the building, and then the girls get stuck on the roof because
Gotta
hail
break the
knocked down
building.
the ladder. And so it's just like, Kanamori, we need you to save us, and she's already blocked the door with the desk. And so she just barrels through the wall, like this metal sheeting, like this is like she's playing Rainbow Six Siege over here. And then it's the punchline of, actually they just slid down the gutter.
Yep. No, repairing the roof.
Followed by you're repairing that.
Mm-hmm. No, repairing the club room was a very good plot point. I enjoyed it. It's the kind of conflict that does really well in this kind of show. The girls get to their club room and they're like, well, this place is garbage. It's like actually made of garbage. We can't work in a place that's actually made of garbage.
We need to make it like 2% less garbage, and then we'll have standard animation practices.
So they designate one of them to break her own arm on television and then get $300 to buy a drill. Like, that's the kind of thing that really works. It's a very low-key conflict that sets up hilarious and charming situations. Let's see. I did love the part with when the tanuki is looking in the hole, and I think it was Asakusa who just said, "Feast."
Feast.
It's like, let's eat him. Woo. That was very funny. The machete versus tank. Raise your machete high, or whatever the thing was called.
Hold your machete tight.
That's it.
Yeah, our first animation in this show, which has so many cut corners. It's incredible.
It's true, but also, this animation had to kill it. If it's a show about... In a show about animators doing animation things, they have to deliver on this. Even if it's high school amateur animators. They have to make this something that would realistically inspire people, and I think they succeeded very well.
It's so good.
Like, you can see, like, obviously this is a bit high quality for actual high schoolers, but, like, you can see that these people are exceptionally talented, and that this is all they ever do in their free time. Yeah, go ahead.
I would say the animation where they go over the most when it comes to the animating side of things. Others, they go over more like later on we'll get more into like sound design, working with sponsors, production.
Yep.
That kind of stuff. This one's definitely the one that focuses most on the art, because it's the first one where it's like we don't even know if we can draw all this in time. and a lot of it is concessions. We can't finish. We don't have the time to color everything. The first section will be black and white. We can't do this in 5 minutes, so it's going to be 3.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we need more time to work on the art. Let's drop the story. You can't do everything by hand, so use interpolation.
Mm-hmm.
This is like the only anime that I know that actually brains up using interpolation.
Does Shirobako not?
I don't know about Shirobako.
Yeah, I haven't seen Shirobako either.
This is the only one that's like, I want to say the actual source that they used was the program Kakani,
Mm-hmm.
which basically does just interpolate stuff, and then the animators draw over the in-betweens.
Mm-hmm. Which sounds really cool.
Interpolation is a very useful tool.
Yeah, I
It's
can
just
imagine.
sad that a lot of people just throw the cool fight scene in there, press a button, and then they upload their 60 FPS awful looking video.
Mm-hmm. No, like I said near the beginning, I feel like if every episode had just focused on a different step of the process of creating an animation, this would have been a very different show, obviously. But I think it would have been that one that I thought was better.
I would still argue that they do go over the different processes, but it's more
I just feel like
on the like building of the actual anime. It's not the drawings as much as other things.
No, and that's fine. I'm just saying if they had made the show about teaching people about making anime instead of about these 3 girls making an anime, then I think it would have been a better show. What I would have liked it less, but I would have rated it higher.
I think that's everything for episode 3 for us to discuss.
Sure.
This one, like we've already talked about, we like the jokes, we like the production side of things.
Mm-hmm.
All that's left is to talk about episode 4 when they actually show it off.
Yeah, and God, do they show it off. Episode 4. Hold that machete tight. With less than a month to finish the project before presenting it to the student council, Kanamori tries to cut down the scope of their anime short, while Mizusaki wants to hand draw every frame and Asakusa wants to add a story. After heated arguments and a failed attempt to loop the school's art club into drawing backgrounds, Kanamori convinces the other girls to use flat colors and digital photography and animation sheets to save time. After pulling several all-nighters, Eizouken finally has their short film ready. The student council tries to immediately shut down the club after seeing evidence of vandalism and other antics across the school until Asakusa demands the student council let them present their short film. The short film blows the audience away, even though Eizouken begins criticizing their own work. The student council approves their request of funds.
So we've already talked about the animation.
Yes,
it is amazing.
It is exactly what it needed to be.
It uses all the concessions that they talked about in the show.
Well, it's as somebody who is a professional anime man, and who talks with people who think about this kind of stuff regularly. Production isn't my thing. But who at least has conversations with people who are very into anime production. It's cool watching people on the inside have these discussions, even if it's through fiction. Because, like, it's nice to see the show say, like, yeah, we're going to cut all of these corners and take all of these shortcuts and do all of these cheats, and we're going to produce a project that is going to blow everyone out of the water. And it's going to be creatively valid and impressively done. Like, that's the biggest thing for me, is that they aren't saying, like, art was sacrificed in favor of getting the project done by a deadline. It's, yeah, we had a deadline, and that's why the thing turned out the way it did, which was incredible. And on the complete opposite end of the coin, the episode ends perfectly, because none of the 3 of them are watching the standing ovation they get. They are staring at that blank screen saying, frame 396 could have been a little different. Like, could we do a wide angle shot there if we were to do it again? Like,
I imagine if you have created and put out anything on the internet or just shown off some artwork, you have experienced that feeling of just like, yeah, people said they liked it, but I realize how shit this is.
I don't even think it's that. I think I think, at least seeing the rest of the show, I'm sure they're all proud of what they did. If they weren't talking about it, like...
Oh, no, yeah.
They weren't upset at what they had produced. They were all smiling and hyped. They're talking about how they can
do it better next time.
Yeah, no, they weren't sad at what they had produced. They were excited about what they were going to produce next.
I also, real quick, I know it's just a side gag, but I love that there is a club for, like,
everything.
Security,
yeah.
And they just have riot shields and, like, batons.
No, it really adds to the atmosphere of the setting how they have clubs for everything. I love the electric amoeba gag.
The Carbohydrate Revolution Club.
Yep.
Where they want to... Hey, chat, can we get a poll on, like, would you eat ramen with rice?
Rice Ramen Club. I mean,
would you eat Carbohydrate Revolution of ramen with rice?
Yeah, I mean, I that just sounds like curry.
Sounds like a pretty bad curry.
I guess so. But no, like, I'd try it, I guess. Yeah, if it was the only food for that day. No, the absolute, like, breadth of the school clubs that exist at this high school is hilarious. Especially when like the anime production club is struggling for funding. But
we saw a few in the sound, like when Kanamori heard about the sound club, there was a few other like complaints, and there was like one that was like, it was like a German choir club.
Yep. I also love the implication that the reason the Eizouken has to be in a shed is because the sound club is stealing 4 club rooms.
It's so funny.
Mm-hmm. And they never address that. They never say, like, hey, we could have had a real club room? What do you mean?
It's all just... A lot of this just comes from the setting.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Mac.
Again, I think we both stated, we're both in agreement. The setting is fantastic and
gorgeous.
Hilarious.
Mm-hmm. I don't really think there's too much to talk about here.
Yeah, we already kind of talked about the actual animation in episode 3. Like, I mean, I love the aesthetic of all of the classmates watching the video and feeling like they're sucked into the world.
Yep. No, the show delivers on the impact of stunning animation perfectly.
Like, you see papers getting blown away into people's faces.
Mm-hmm. This is very funny.
Non-existent wind, and it's great.
All right, want to move to episode 5?
Yeah.
What anime am I going to cover next? Asks Mac. I'm releasing a video about Your Lie in April sometime in the next 5 days. After that, I'm releasing a funny video about my life after I was reincarnated as a dummy head Mike one morning, where the script is about halfway done. And after that, it's Blue Lock.
I am looking forward to Blue Lock.
Yeah? Those other 2 videos sound like shit, but...
Are you kidding me? I don't know anything about Your Lie in April, but I'm very curious about Dummy Head Mike.
Dummy Head Mike is an interesting one.
This sounds hilarious. I'm never going to watch it.
Thank you, Tino. Yeah, I mean, if you want to watch the Your Lie in April video right now, you can go to patreon.com/explanationpoint, and it's available to all patrons of all tiers. But you can also just wait like less than a week.
Go watch it early, and then watch it on YouTube so that we can continue getting good ad revenue.
It's true. You all give me like 1/800th of a dollar.
Or you could give more of a dollar if you go to
You could just give me a regular dollar.
Explanation point.
Episode 5, An Iron Giant appears. Eizouken is hired by the school's robot club to make a short anime with their giant robot fighting a monster. Eizouken begins exploring an abandoned area underneath the school to get ideas for the setting of the monster. After getting some ideas, the trio falls through a weakened floor into a pit, but Asakusa uses her survivalist tools to help them escape. The next day, the robot club president loudly complains that the Eizouken is just as Kanamori enters to take some photos for blackmail. Asakusa presents her ideas for the story, but the president argues the contradictory real-life giant robot instead of a robot with a chainsaw arm that Asakusa drew. Eventually, the two groups find harmony over their respective near-impossible dreams and begin designing the robot for the anime together.
So this episode was about dealing with bad sponsors who have no idea what they want.
Yes.
And is also sort of the start of just exploring environments to get ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Like finding your muse, your inspiration.
Yeah, the exploring the environments, we've already talked about that, is a fantastic angle that this show takes. Whenever it does that, it shines.
I absolutely love how pretty much everyone in the room, except for the president of the robot club, realize how, like, just annoying or just, like, idiotic he's being.
Mm-hmm.
With just, like, I want a realistic humanoid, I want a realistic Gundam, and I want it to be in reality, where that idea doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. Like, you realize that for every purpose a robot could serve, there's a better form for a robot, right? Does YouTube Premium give me more money? Yes, it does. I don't know what Kiba is, Mac.
It is so funny just going over all the different, like, I want a real robot. Oh, you mean like, you know,
you mean a tank?
Robot dogs or just the funky little dudes.
Mm-hmm. No, a real humanoid robot. Yeah, the Robot Club never appealed to me.
I like them. It's very, like, the standout character is obviously the president.
Mm-hmm.
For just being such a goofy child. It's very cute in that way of just, like, teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
You just want to, like,
I like them
punch
as a
them in the
contrast to the Eizouken. But also, like, it goes into the central theme of the show, which is about creativity or imagination versus reality. Where the thing that this guy wants does not exist and cannot exist. Which, again, is something that I just wish the show did more. I feel like it was at its strongest when Asakusa and Mizusaki were having to make concessions to Kanamori, the realist. And they were both kind of sad about it. Like, when they both had to temper their dreams based on what they could actually accomplish in the time that they had.
And I mean, they still have to do that with the robot, like,
yes.
With Midori just constantly trying to come up with ways that appeals to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
With, like, the robot go-kart, basically.
And I really liked her little breakdown when she said, like, there's no way I can possibly make a robot that appeals to everybody. Somebody's going to criticize it. Either the robot fans or the people who aren't robot fans. What do I do?
Just make it.
Just do something, you idiot. And I also really enjoyed when she was trying to work out the mechanics of the robot. And said, like, there's no way this could possibly work. There's no engine in it at all. The entrance to the cockpit is ridiculous. It can't move right, and we're hiding all the joints. But they had already started animating it. She can't change the design now, so she goes through and she changes the internals of the robot, which will never show up anywhere, just to please herself.
I'm going to be real, as somebody who has been constantly working on my own novel
Uh-huh.
and rewriting characters and world building aspects that will never come up,
Mm-hmm.
just so I can know, oh, but this main character, his influence comes from this one character that we'll never ever see. And it's like that gets my juices going. That gets
Mm-hmm.
me flowing.
Yeah. No, it was a very relatable thing to do, and very cute as well.
It's so real to me, just
Mm-hmm.
like there are so many aspects in anything, in any kind of production, that an audience will never see and they
Yep.
will never know existed, but they are just as important.
Mm-hmm. Like, how many of Midori's concept art pages actually make it to screen? 1%? Less?
About, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like,
90% of like the fantasies they come up with aren't ever part of the anime that they produce.
yeah, well, because producing the anime isn't actually the point. Producing the anime is a vehicle for creative expression. And creative
Yeah.
expression is like 99% what goes on in your own head. That's what limited edition art books are for. Kanamori would love to hear you say that. All right. Do we have anything else to say about specifically episode 5? I'm checking the Discord. I know I didn't take many
I think
public
we're
notes
good.
about this. Yeah, episode 4 is where the dreams get crushed. Episode 6 is where I started getting really bored.
I'll admit that the giant robot one is probably the arc that matters the least, and I think I figured it out on this rewatch.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you could split this up into the robot. It didn't need as many episodes as it got.
Mm-hmm. That's my
didn't
biggest
need-
criticism of the whole show.
It didn't need 3 episodes.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely not. Thank you, Mac.
No, it got 4 episodes. That's right.
Jesus
it didn't need
Christ.
4 episodes.
Well, it's also just basically the exact same thing as the first animation. They have a little higher budget, but, like, they are doing the same thing for basically the same reason. In more or less the same way. Like, the only reason this is at all different is because they're interacting with other clubs. But just barely. Like, they have the sponsorship from the Robot Club, and they have some backgrounds done by the Art Club, and they introduce the sound design girl here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, they do.
It's not that I have an argument against you. I think it's more I just don't see the problem.
Mm-hmm. Well, it wouldn't be a problem for you because you enjoy watching what the show is doing.
Yeah.
And you're just getting more of what the show is doing. I don't enjoy watching what the show is doing. I think on its own it's rather boring. And so this is just 4 more episodes of the same boring thing.
You know, I'm just realizing this is what it's like when I talk to Made in Abyss fans.
Yeah? You're not a
Yeah.
fan?
Not the biggest fan, no.
It's got its problems, aside from the obvious ones.
Yeah.
You know, it is exactly the same conversation, huh? Because I would say, like, yeah, well, the world is incredible, and the art is beautiful, and the vibes are great. Wow, we really would just have the exact same conversation in reverse.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
I guess Made in Abyss next. Unfortunately, we can't do that.
We can't, it's too long. Unfortunately, it is now too long.
We have to go back in time to get season 2 of Made in Abyss
Undone.
off the menu.
Yep. I wouldn't complain. I didn't absolutely despise season 2 of Made in Abyss. It was just disappointing. But anyway,
Tino asks, sorry, the vibe is great for Made in Abyss.
before the movie even? What do you mean? The vibe is great. I love the vibe.
The vibe of kills you.
Yes. I love suffering child in large, fantastical environment. What's wrong with that?
Do you have a problem with watching children die?
Yeah,
Excuse
do
me?
you, Tino? The vibe is horrifying. Yeah!
That's what I love
Yeah!
about it. Why do you think people like horror movies?
It is horrifying. You're right. I love
Obviously,
that.
The reason people like horror movies is that
like-
we want to watch teenagers get murdered.
No, it's great. Never gonna watch it again. No, this has absolutely nothing to do with Eizouken, but
Yeah,
like-
it's still just as important.
I think that there's value. Not that Made in Abyss exists purely for shock value, but I think that there is value in just pushing the limits of what is socially acceptable to show on a TV screen. Even if there's no other artistic value to it, it's just like, let's just expand this border a little bit and see what we can get away with.
I feel like the reason we're getting off topic is because we've kind of already discussed everything about Eizouken, and we're just going over the episode recaps.
See, we have discussed everything about Eizouken. You're right. And there are 6 more episodes to talk about. That is my problem with it.
My problem is that there isn't enough. I want 6 more episodes after this.
Like, that's how I feel about Takagi-san. It's fine. Like, I would watch 12 seasons of Takagi-san. But also, I would not defend Takagi-san anymore. I know I did on the old podcast I used to do. But I would not defend Takagi-san as being, like, all that great of a show. It just speaks to me. Bet we still finish after the 3-hour mark. I hope so.
Do we want to just rapid fire through the remainder of the episodes then?
But then we won't reach the 3-hour mark.
You want to play games?
All right. Episode 6.
See if anybody wants to do Jackbox?
Let's do better than last time. After Eizouken's success with her first anime short, they find themselves with triple the time after the giant robot anime, but also triple the work. Kanamori mentions that the art club is now interested in helping them draw backgrounds, and she convinced the IT club to sell her computer for cheap instead of having to use the school's computer lab. Later, Kanamori used the school council's impending insurrection to coerce the sound club's sole member, Dumeki, to use her skills and extensive sound effects library on Eizouken's projects. A few days later, Sasuke and Kanamori meet the anime club and explain what they need. The art club and explain what they need, but the art club's questions and comments prove overwhelming to Asakusa. Asakusa starts questioning her own storyboards that evening and abruptly shows her plan to scrap the giant robot. Kanamori immediately shoots her down, stating that they have too much invested in the project to change everything and that Asakusa needs to stick with the robot. Asakusa keeps the robot but redesigns the interior, as Mizusaki and Kanamori remark that Asakusa's motivation switch seems to activate at random. Mood.
So, this was just the Kanamori blackmails people episode.
Yep.
And then we also got introduced to Domiki.
Yeah.
Yay, hooray, finally, we got another anime that draws black people normally.
Yeah, that's one thing that I really wanted to praise this show about, is in the first episode, when they have the anime club screening, it's such a diverse crowd, which I feel like, first off, no other show does that. Especially with, like, random background characters who don't even speak. They'll just show a bunch of generic, often literally faceless, like, pale-skinned Asian people. But you get, like, all kinds of folks in this crowd, which I feel is part of, like, what makes the anime community fairly distinct. Is that it has always been, historically, a place for social outcasts that tends to be welcoming to, like, people of different genders and people of racial minorities and people with niche interests. So you do get these very diverse and distinct crowds. So it was quite nice to see that.
Yeah. Tenek doesn't get why they changed the robot design. Well, because they changed the robot design because it was a concession with the Robots Club, who basically wanted an impossible request.
Mm-hmm. Thoughts on Dead Man Wonderland? Never seen it. Tino says that Hero Academia has great background characters. That's true, but that's cheating.
I'd say they still have a lot of they have a lot of blobs and then the occasional cactus head.
Yep. Yeah, it's very easy to have some background characters that stand out when you're allowed to make them blue. But there's still a surprising amount of pale-skinned Asian people. Not that that's not true to life in Japan, which has significantly less racial diversity than the United States. I'm not trying to say that. But still.
But yeah, anything else in this episode I'd go over is probably just I loved the sound test imagination with walking on cobblestone for every single background. And yeah, I would throw up too.
No, that was very good. And also the little rant about how there were 72 different recordings of this one waterfall and why that is important.
No, yeah, it's very... I love just listening to, like, you don't really think about sound design all that often in anime production or video games or just, like, anything. But the slightest difference in sound can really sell things.
Yep.
Heavily.
No, it made me think of a friend of mine who works as a composer, and what she will do that is adorable is take out her phone wherever she is and just record a little ambiance in case she needs to use it for something. So just the idea of having 72 different recordings of the same waterfall that are all very subtly different reminded me of that a lot.
Yeah, like, you think Tony Hawk Pro Skater, like, do you think they just, like, went to some sound library and pulled whatever? No, they just had people just bail on skateboards the whole time.
No, like, again, this show is very clearly made by people who have passion for what they're doing. It's a show about animation, and it was made by animators.
So... I think that's everything, unless you have any more information you want to go over besides the, in the Kanamori blackmails everyone episode?
I don't really. Kanamori blackmails everyone, which is rude. I
think that's pretty cool. I think more people should blackmail each other.
Yeah. No, like, it's a good character moment where Kanamori gets to go around, like, showing off her badass skill as a producer. It's just rude.
It's rude. I mean, we'll get to the best. Okay, as much as we've talked down about episode 8, it does have the best Kanamori blackmails people gag.
The HVAC club, yeah. No, like, it would be it's one thing when she's standing up to the school. And she tells the teachers, like, yeah, well, you know, wouldn't it be a shame if people found out that you were delegitimizing, like, I don't know. I don't see why you could possibly argue that we're not producing video. We are. Look at this. This is a video. Stuff like that. Like, how in the world can you argue that learning how to make money isn't part of education? Just overwhelming them with, what the fuck is that man's name? Just overwhelming them with sophistry. But yeah, I think it's another thing when she's going to other students and saying, like, hey, give me your money.
That's so girl boss of her. I'd also do that. I'd also steal money from other people. That's so cool.
I'm thinking of a specific modern sophist. He's a theologian who's just a total dickhead. I can't remember his name, thank goodness. I've gotten better since then. That's character growth. Explain what, Tino? Episode 7, I have to do it for myself.
Yep.
A young Mizusaki becomes inspired to draw movement based on her observations at school at home. Domaki moves most of her sound inventory into a nearby as Eizouken tries to get storyboard animated and set up timing for the sounds in the Robot Club's voiceovers. The art club returns with their finished backgrounds, but Asakusa and Mizusaki find them riddled with errors and ask them to some edits. As the art club leaves, Kanamori chastises Asakusa for taking on more work for herself and threatening the project's timeline again. The next day, a torrential downpour forces the trio to seek shelter in a nearby bathhouse. After Mizusaki talks about her family, the trio then head to a nearby restaurant to eat some crawfish, while Asakusa dreams up another fantasy world. The next day, Mizusaki gets frustrated that the robot's chainsaw isn't animated enough for her liking. Kanamori tells her that adding sound to the existing animation will be good enough, but Mizusaki insists that she wants to animate it perfectly for everyone to say.
To say? Is it really to say?
No, it's to see.
To see. What do you mean also blackmail? Well, sometimes you just
What do you
gotta
mean you
blackmail
also...
people.
Yeah, sometimes it's just the only way.
Sometimes it's fun.
I
don't understand the problem.
Yeah, you're gonna have to explain to me what's wrong with blackmail.
So
this was my favorite part of the show.
Yeah, because you are the Mizusaki fan.
Yes, I am. I just thought that, well, even taking the show on its own merits, I just thought that this episode had the best vibes. I thought that it was very...
I can understand that.
It was
this
very
could also
cozy.
be where we see Mizusaki's grandma and everything.
It was very cozy. It was very character-driven. And it related to the character's love of animation without just showing her animating things. Which I thought that it did an incredible job, like just in the same way that the first episode showed how Midori got inspired to create anime, it showed how Mizusaki got inspired to draw human animation. I just feel like this was much better than Midori's origin story, because Midori really is just like, yeah, I saw impressive anime, I want make impressive anime. But with Mizusaki's origin story, it really is just looking at real life around her and saying, this is beautiful. And I want to be able to recreate this.
It's also kind of perfect in that she grew up on ballet and acting, two of like the most important like professions or like hobbies for using body language and understanding the small intricacies of everything.
I didn't see anything about ballet. I
swear there was ballet.
I also thought it was a ballet class, just because I'm more familiar with ballet classes. I think it was a ballet studio. I think it was a ballet studio being used for modeling lessons.
Okay, that was probably it. I was probably just, but still, modeling is there's some important stuff, I guess.
But no, just the movement of the tea in the cup getting thrown out, getting thrown out the missing wall. What do you even call that?
It's side yard?
It's not a window. It's not a door. There's just not a wall there.
Well, I mean, it's a sliding screen door.
Yeah, but it's a wall-sized sliding screen door.
Those exist.
It's a retractable wall.
Those exist.
I know they exist, but what is it called?
Retractable wall?
It's like a garage door, but it goes sideways.
I'm just imagining you just take the car and you just start climbing up. Park your car in the living room. Let's go.
No, like just throwing the tea outside and seeing the beauty in that motion as a child and not really knowing how to express what's happening in your head is just such a cool feeling that I think they captured perfectly.
She's just trying to throw tea the same way, just spilling it everywhere.
Yep. Like
that is just the essence of being a kid.
No, and it's one thing to be like, yeah, throwing tea like that is cool. I want to be able to do that, but that's not what was happening with her, and she doesn't know that. She
wants to recreate it as a moment that she can keep looking at. She wants it to freeze in place.
And then also the lessons about anatomy from her modeling classes applying to her daily life with her grandma. Like, yeah, if you put your weight on your feet like this and swing your hips like this, you'll have an easier time walking. Or if you lean forward a bit more and then stand up when your butt leaves the bed, you'll have an easier time getting up. I think that was an excellent touch that this show needed a lot more of. Because this show shows all about how they are fully invested in animation, but it doesn't get into their lives at all, which I understand is not the point. But I think it would have been better if we had more moments like this where we can see how this love of animation affected other aspects of their lives. Instead of just being a self-contained thing.
But I understand what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be against having more of that.
Mm-hmm. Like, again, this was my favorite part just because, first off, Mizusaki is, character-wise, I think she is probably the weakest of them. She's at least the most generic. She's
your favorite vibe.
She's my favorite vibe, personally. She just has the least compelling thing going on, which is really just, I like drawing a lot. So having this moment for her was completely necessary, I think. I just feel like every character would have improved for having this. And I don't think that Kanamori's was all that good.
Ooh, we're gonna be fighting.
That's not a strong opinion. Like, I'll admit that by the time we got to it, I was kind of checked out, so I wasn't paying close attention. It also didn't make me check back in.
Let's continue on then to episode 8, which we've already kind of discussed.
Sure, the Grand Shibahama Festival. With the school festival approaching, the anime is almost done. Though Kanamori notes the dialogue will have to be done live, as Mizusaki's edits give them no time to add it in. Meanwhile, Mizusaki receives word that her parents will come to the festival and decides to make herself the face of the production to draw in the audience. On the day of the festival, the Robot Club helps Mizusaki advertise the anime showing, and Kanamori blackmails the HVAC Club to keep the auditorium room cooler than the other buildings to draw more people in. The Student Council tries to shut down Mizusaki and the Robot Club for their excessive display, but the Robot Club helps Mizusaki escape to make it to the show on time. After the screening, Mizusaki's parents approve of her work, while Kanamori uses the image to sell DVD pre-orders. Later, just as Asakusa begins criticizing her own work, the Mizusakis are introduced to the trio.
Okay, so we've already discussed how we both agree that we don't like Mizusaki's family conflict in this episode.
Yes. Well, I guess I don't have a problem with the conflict itself. It's just...
It's very lackluster.
They do it incredibly badly.
Yeah. It doesn't have a whole lot of meat on it. It's very much just the skeletal structure of a conflict.
I don't even think they get the bones, mate. They just say there is a conflict, and then there is not a conflict. They get the ghost of a conflict.
It was never real. Never was real.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this episode is, personally for me, I think it's the most fun episode there is in this show.
Sure.
Everything with the Robot Club, the president just going through the quick change into the sky form.
That was super fun. Yeah.
He was shouting everywhere, and you could see under
singing
the mask
his own theme song.
Yeah, he is sweating. He is clearly not exercising in a long time, and he is absolutely having the time of his life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so good. It was just wheezing in between each bit of the theme song. Meanwhile,
the theme song that he wrote himself but didn't get done in time for the animation.
Yeah, he's just having the time of his life, and that energy for me is carried throughout the whole episode.
Mm-hmm.
It is energetic and fun all throughout until we get to the actual anime, where I'd say the most important part about this show that they put on, this robot anime, is getting to see all of the touches. this production with the giant robot is the best example I could show to someone on the idea of picking out an animator's style.
Mm-hmm.
You see little touches like holding the chopsticks wrong. You see throwing the tea into the sink.
Mm-hmm.
You can, if this was a real thing, people would say, you can tell this is a Mizusaki anime.
Mm-hmm. No, like, all three of the anime that we can see the Eizouken make really do exude the exact same vibe. Mizusaki being chased didn't really make sense. The Robot Club broke the rules, not the Eizouken.
Yeah, but
Also
like,
true. Like, they broke the rules for the Eizouken. Like, again, I don't find the student council to be compelling villains.
they basically, the idea behind is that the Eizouken have been kind of like, they've been going around blackmailing. They've been very disruptive.
They are the Al Capone, and
Yeah,
they are trying to use
basically-
this as the tax evasion.
Yeah, the student council president, I guess club, wants them to just be shut down because they are the rebel rousers.
Mm-hmm.
They're just looking for an excuse.
Yeah, Eizouken is causing a lot of trouble, and the student council isn't going to let the fact that somebody else is technically doing it make them distract them.
I will say, it is absolutely my favorite scene. Like, chat, if you didn't watch Eizouken, just imagine this for me. Just like, you just get into a dark room with Kanamori and some random person. They're talking numbers, and she's demanding like 16 of something, and it's like, no, 20. It's like, no, 16, final answer, or else you're all screwed. And they're like, fine. And you watch as they lower the AC of the auditorium to 16 degrees where every other building is 28. Can you imagine?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just like, what did she blackmail them with? And then you realize that this air conditioning club is also, they've been constantly stuck at 16 degrees for their own club room as they relax.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny.
Were the pictures she had of them taken as reference for the scenes of the people eating the seafood in this animation?
I almost want to say yes.
Because they were very similar.
They were very similar, and if that is the case, I think that's hilarious.
Mm-hmm. It's also very Kanamori.
Mm-hmm. She is resourceful, and we'll get into that next episode. Unless you have anything else you want to say about this one.
I really don't. Just that the animation was fantastic. I loved the focus on the chainsaw. Chainsaws, so hot right now.
Yeah, I wonder why.
But yeah, just Mizusaki's focus on making the chainsaw move the way she wanted it to.
Robot president just giving 150% on the voice acting.
Absolutely. And I loved the fact that the voice acting had to be done live and how nobody really batted an eye at that.
You know,
Like,
maybe we'll discuss if Dead Man Wonderland will get on the anime discussion poll this time, but for now it's just going to be Eizouken.
Yep. I'm not going to suggest it. I'm going to suggest Wonder Egg Priority. You can also suggest Wonder Egg Priority and just make it happen.
Yeah, I could. Maybe.
Do I want to do that? I don't know if I want to do that.
I don't know if I want to go through that again.
Aim for Comet A, Episode 9. Kanamori reveals that Eizouken's recent success has sparked a flood of requests from other school clubs to make an anime for them, but the DVD sales from the robot anime earn them less than $200 in profit, so Kanamori turned them down to focus on another anime that will sell even more DVDs. After a brief stop at an underground ramen shop, Kanamori shows the abandoned storefront and talks about her past, how her family originally brewed sake, but nearby development forced them to turn the brewery into a convenience store. Then the development was abandoned and not enough customers came by the store, forcing her parents to shut it down. Kanamori swears to use every method possible to help people to get more people interested in Eizouken's work. As Asakusa conceptualizes Eizouken's next anime, with the town itself defending against an alien invasion, later Kanamori successfully convinces the town's business community to give Eizouken funding to make up for the student council garnishing royalties from Domaki's sound clips. Meanwhile, Asakusa suddenly thinks of a way to portray a realistic laser cannon, but admits she hasn't decided on a backstory yet. Oh god, is July only going to have 2 options? Yes, it is.
So, episode 9.
Yeah.
There's nothing fun about social media.
Nothing. I agree. I don't...
You know what? I agree too. Don't go on Twitter, folks.
I like talking to my friends, but that's about it.
So this is the one. I want to hear your thoughts on this episode first.
I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna be honest, I was kind of checked out by this point, so I don't have any detailed thoughts. But... the character design for young Kanamori was very cute. I thought her interaction with her dad ran the convenience store?
Yeah.
I thought that those were very nice. I loved him handing her a box of goods instead of money and saying, go make more money with this. Which is a very shitty thing to do with an employee who is also your child, but she seemed to enjoy it. I also think it was a fine backstory. There's no problem with that. But I don't know. The idea that the money-obsessed character got that way because she didn't have enough money as a child, like, is just kind of played out. Like, I like the take on it. I like that it wasn't just, I was really poor, couldn't afford food, wore ratty clothes. I like it was, yeah, there was this place I really loved, and it shut down because they didn't make enough money. So I am going to make a profitable business so that nobody else has to go through that. And so I don't have to go through that again. That was a good take on it. I just think it's a little bit trite.
All right, I can definitely see why you were your take on this, and I can see why my take on it is so different.
Okay.
So let me first explain that this was my favorite location in the setting.
Interesting. All right.
Just this like underground shopping district built on a slant, including like the little imaginations of like. Oh, what's under this manhole? It's the secret shopping district spiral staircase. But as someone who grew up in an area with a lot of local businesses, this hits so close in everyone just comes together, there's smiles, half of the buildings barely function.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just so pleasant and so sad when store by store I watched them all have to close up.
Mm-hmm.
That Speedway gas station stayed open, that's for sure, but Dave's local pharmacy, that's gone.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing that kind of thing in an anime really got to me, you know? And especially with Kanamori's backstory of just, I loved seeing all the ways of how her mind works in building money and all that. And just like, just the interesting ways she makes sales.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, here, have some wool gloves. And it's like, yeah, but that's just gonna like get really soggy and cold in the winter with all this snow. It's like, put rubber gloves over them. And,
well, I do already have these rubber gloves.
Yeah. I'm going to be real. I tried that. It works kind of really well.
That's neat. But also, just instead of spending 100 yen on wool gloves, spend 200 yen on insulated wool gloves. Like, I guess if you need them right then, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't have insulated wool gloves, I don't think.
Sure.
But just the ways that she came up with all these different sales and her ideas of helping out. I also love the little comment that they made where it's like she's actually kind of bad at math,
Mm-hmm.
but this makes sense to her.
Yeah, that was also good.
because it absolutely is. I'm gonna be real. That's kind of very similar to me and how my brain works.
Mm.
I could do really well in making sales, but like give me calculus and I will just shut down.
Well, it's very different math.
Was just kind of the first example I came
Mm-hmm.
up to, but also if you gave me algebra 1, I would probably throw that back in your face.
Yeah, fair enough. Um, yeah, somebody, Pillow Fort, said that it's nice that Kanamori's skills are shown as being valid and. Sorry, somebody's given me a math problem. What is 7 times 14? It's 98. But Tenek also says 98. Anyway, Pillowforth says that it's nice that Kanamori's skills are shown as being a valid and necessary part of the creative process, and that's definitely also true.
Mm-hmm.
When
Everyone, listen, I always get the idea, and don't get me wrong, sometimes it's very valid, of the producer is always the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
But like, if you have a producer who genuinely wants to make stuff, and like, part of that is we need to make a profit so we can continue making stuff. They want to help.
Mm-hmm.
They're just the realist in this equation of complete fantasy.
Yep.
And I love that Kanamori is shown as this like greedy person who blackmails people, but is never shown as heartless or like her greed is a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because it isn't. It's her expression. And that, I feel like that backstory really shows that off and really exemplifies that, and her wanting to make this next anime production to show off the different parts of this city and to show off this little like she takes them to this underground ramen shop that is built on a slope and has all these weird knickknacks, and I would absolutely love to go there. I would love to eat there. And so I think episode 8 is the most fun episode. This might be my favorite because of how personal it is to me.
No, I can definitely see that. The ramen shop is very cute. Kanamori just is not my favorite character in the whole thing, despite how well I think she's portrayed.
I wish I was Kanamori, but I am absolutely a Midori.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, me too. I just don't have the drive that Midori has. Let's see. Episode 10. Against Our Independent World. Kanamori announces her plan to have Mizusaki judge voice acting auditions for the new anime and gain publicity when the student council appears and drags the Eizouken before a panel hearing. The teachers at the hearing tell the Eizouken that they keep making anime but are not allowed to profit off using the school's name. Meanwhile, Asakusa struggles to think of a story that would fit her concept art despite Kanamori's increasing frustrations with the delay in the project. Later, Eizouken goes sound hunting with Domeki, and Asakusa invites herself along but to think of more ideas. So one day, the student council secretary appears at a nearby riverbank to ask Sayaka about Eizouken's plans going forward. Asakusa comes up with some interesting new concepts, but can't tie them to her original story, angering Kanamori.
So the whole conflict when it comes to this production is clearly just tying all these loose ideas together.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Kanamori is trying to push for something or anything, which Midori can't do because there's just a bunch of loose concepts rattling together with nothing to tie them. There's no glue yet.
Mm-hmm.
She is searching for glue. This, I would say, is probably the weakest episode.
I remember practically nothing about it aside from them walking by the riverbed or the waterbed.
There was the council with all the faculty and the student council. So it was a lot of it was a lot of Kanamori and Sakaki, the only student council member that matters,
Mm-hmm.
who can actually like debate against Kanamori.
Yep. I love that she's not the president. That's just a nice little detail.
She's not the president. Oh, you know what? Actually, it does have the best line in the whole show,
Yeah.
where the actual student president is barely making a point and is fumbling all of her words, and then Sakaki just says, "You would make a great teacher."
Yep.
And then she just goes, "Oh, really? Thanks."
Mm-hmm.
And just completely missing the point while all the other teachers are fumbling about.
Yep. No, that was an incredible burn.
Yeah. Speaking of the teachers, yeah, they can barely half make a point against Kanamori, who is just man-spreading all over the room.
But they also don't have to. They just say, "Stop, child. Stop doing this."
Then Kanamori asks a valid reason why they can't, and they said, "No."
"Stop, child. Stop doing this. You are child."
It really comes down to, like, at the end, they kind of have to concede to them because they are just the teachers.
Mm-hmm. No, it's like, it's our money. We tell you what to do with it.
And then Kanamori says, "But we're getting money from other places."
But you
so
aren't
what's the
allowed to
problem?"
do that in the rules. Look at the school rules.
How is earning a profit not educational?
I didn't say it wasn't the rules. Look at the book. Regard the
rules
code
should
of
change,
conduct.
question mark?
We can't do that here and now.
Look, child, look.
I did really love the workaround where it's like, fine, we won't make profit for the club. We'll make profit individually. We'll just make money. Yeah, it doesn't go anywhere. They just get what they want.
Yeah, they get what they want through episode 11, and we'll get to that.
Yep.
And that's basically it. They just go to grab some sounds, whereas Midori's just sitting here trying to think about things.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it child labor if they do work? I mean, it's child labor either way. They're doing it for themselves.
I don't. Well, I mean, I'm not a Japanese lawyer, but I don't think there's anything
thing is
illegal
that they're
about a
not
child
working
selling a
under
creative
anyone.
project that they made.
They're not working under anyone.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you say that what Eizouken is doing is child labor, that would be like saying a lemonade stand is child labor.
No, it would be like saying that a child charging $5 for a crayon picture that they drew is child labor.
Yeah.
Anyway. I've just really got nothing to say here, my folks. My buddies.
Your pals.
My dudes? So ban lemonade stands. Yeah! Water stands only.
Oh wait, does this mean we have to ban Girl Scout cookies? Wait, hold on.
Yeah. We don't have to ban the cookies, they just have to be sold by adults.
Okay, so I can still get my Samsamas?
Sure.
My tagalongs?
If you need them, you can have your Thin Mints too.
They're okay.
Isn't that the same as making manga in competitions? Like if they did books instead of animations, would they still be against it? I think so. I don't think what they're doing is the problem. I think that the problem is that they're making money using the school's name and the school's resources. Like they said, you cannot make money using the school's name at a non-school function. So they said, fine, we won't. We'll just use money. We'll just make money for ourselves using our intellectual property.
Yeah, and then they also said, hey, doesn't the school already do that with the festivals and everything? And they're like, that's a special exception for us.
It's like, I mean, no, not really. That's a school function. Yeah, do you just want to move to episode 11?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, episode 10's the weakest,
Mhm.
as it's kind of the most fillery episode. It's still very pretty and very fun to watch and listen to and all
Mhm.
that, but episode 11, let's go.
Yeah. Episode 11. Asakusa continues to struggle thinking up a storyline for the anime while the security club forcibly shuts down another school club working with the Eizouken to copy DVDs before they can get to work. The Eizouken advisor plays a handheld video games and encourages the club to relax for a bit. Asakusa and Mizusaki decide to go to off to a near waterway in town, and Asakusa falls into a river before Kanamori drags her out. All the while, the trio are tailed by Domaki as she records the sounds that they make. The next day, the school's vice principal cuts off Eizouken from the other clubs. Asakusa and Mizusaki take a train to visit a sick Kanamori at her home, and Asakusa flashes back to when she first met Kanamori in middle school. They were both loners for different reasons, but formed a codependent relationship. While visiting Kanamori on her sickbed, Mizusaki tells Kanamori about the situation, and Kanamori shows that the efforts have generated enough media coverage that the school would only embarrass themselves by shutting down Eizouken's project. Then, Asakusa reveals that she thought up a story that tied the previous wanderings together about a war between humans and Kappas. With this new direction, Eizouken comes closer to finishing the anime, but Domaki later reveals that something or someone replaced the entire audio track with a strange piano tune. You think this episode has a reference to the Nag Hammadi library? It does. Or at least one of these later ones does. The stuff with the clock tower was cool.
Yeah. Clock tower cool. I enjoyed the vibe of just once again exploring random locations and nearly drowning.
Yep.
That's super cool.
It was
reminds me of the good old days.
There was a running joke when I was watching this with my friend Holden that pretty much every episode featured one of these children almost dying.
Yeah. I think that's pretty cool.
A surprising number of them where she's gonna get sliced. She's gonna get sliced or she's gonna get bridged to Terabithia.
Oh, that's great. Alright, for the next anime discussion, I'm throwing
It's bridge to Terabithia.
Yeah.
I can just imagine the thumbnail of Anna Sophia Robb at like 11 years old with giant anime eyes.
I can just imagine a tire swing.
Yep. Hilarious.
Wow, a lot of child death discussion in this discussion.
And we didn't even vote for Anohana. Let's see. Yeah, the throwing in an 11th hour conflict with the piano track was just a weird choice, I think.
I liked it.
The 12th episode turned out good. The conflict went well. It was the best conflict in the show, I think. But I feel like introducing it so late in the game was not the move.
I don't know. I think it was the best. It was definitely the most, like, when I saw the end of episode 11, I was like, how the hell do they fix this?
Mm-hmm.
This was, to me, the most interesting conflict in the show.
Yep.
Which I would say is good, because it is the final one.
Right. This was the one that felt the most earned when they beat it. Like, they had a good idea, and they worked hard to execute it, and they came up with a product that worked.
Yeah.
There was...
we'll get into that later.
Oh, I guess fair enough. I forgot that wasn't this episode.
Yeah. I love just Kanamori's plan coming together to allow them to work with the other clubs and continue on with the project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do.
It was very good.
I do always enjoy when the solution to breaking the rules is, so what? Yeah, we're breaking the rules. What you gonna do about it?
Everybody loves us, so what are you gonna do? Just winning by popular demand is maybe one of my favorite ways to win.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Which is why I am so happy Eizouken won.
Yeah, I've got to say, if I were this like sleepy and sort of like dull for a conversation about Anohana, I would be getting sad right now. So I am glad that Eizouken won as well. But yeah, the rest of this is really just vibes again.
It's just some good ass vibes.
Sure,
as they finish this latest anime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was Tenek who was frustrated that it took them so long to come up with the Kappa idea, which I agree with since Midori is obviously part frog.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Actually true.
Anyway, episode 12. Shibahama UFO Wars. After finding out that their musician changed the main track at the last moment and no one checked, Mizusaki began to panic. With time running out, Asakusa proposes changing the end of the anime to match the music track that they have and keeping the dance party scene as a DVD extra. After working heavily through the night to finish their tasks, Eizouken manages to finish the anime and Kanamori takes extreme measures to get DVDs printed in time for the Comet A convention. The trio manages to sell out their DVDs and after the convention ends, they decide to watch their own finished product, Shibahama UFO Wars.
So... based on the based on the logo and like the font and everything, it really reminds me of like, are they trying to do like a Summer Wars thing?
Not familiar. Let me look that up real quick.
I swear that it is similar font. I'm probably just crazy because the only similarity they have between the two of them is just war in the title.
All I'm seeing about Summer Wars makes the font look like Eizouken's font. Oh, no. Okay, I see it.
No, yeah. It is the same director for both Eizouken and Summer Wars, so
I see.
That's also a reason why it feels like just like a reference. It's a funny little thing.
Could be.
But I am really glad at the beginning of this episode when they had the music track and that made Midori realize, hey, wait a second, this ending sucks. Nobody, if this conflict was real, they wouldn't just start having a dance party after they met with everyone.
I did really like that happening because when Midori in like episode 10 or whenever it happened said like, yeah, listening to this demo, I can just imagine a big dance party at the end. That'd be really fun. Like the second she said that, I was like, that's a bad idea. Nope. That's just an idea that her brain had and now she's throwing it in there because that's the project she was working on at the time. I've done that so many times.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. No, it just reeked of impulsivity. So seeing that get scrapped was very nice.
And the flood of different... I think I spent the longest on this episode literally just pausing so I could read all of the different factors that result in conflict that showed up in this episode, like the sea of conflict.
Mm-hmm. There is an Eizouken live-action film.
They made Tomiki white? Oh no.
I doubt they made her white. They probably made her a light-skinned Asian, right?
So,
which is not...
Gonna tell us what this is called? So we can
well,
look
it's
it up?
called Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken.
Okay, that's fair. You know what? I regret asking.
It has a 5.9 out of 10 on IMDb.
Okay, so... divisive.
Eizouken live-action Domaki. Oh. Domaki Parker in the live action. Yeah. That's not a black girl.
Oh no.
We're just going to chop that up. We're just going to chalk that up to Japan not having the same racial sensibilities that the US does. That doesn't make it okay.
That's a yikes for me, dog.
But yes, this is Domaki. Why is that happening? Anyway, this is Domaki.
Oh, no.
Anime. Live action. Anime. Live action. Anyway.
Oh my god, I hate it. I hate that.
Yeah, just...
Mainly, I love Domaki's design so much. I think she's fucking perfect. Why?
Just to... Not to justify anything, but Domaki isn't white. She's Asian. She's Japanese.
That's fair. But she's also...
Yeah.
Do you want to continue?
There's an issue here.
Are you really just gonna end it there?
I'm just gonna end the sentence there. I think everybody knows what the problem is.
Okay. I hope that doesn't get clipped out of context.
I feel like out of context it's even more fine. Just saying like Domaki isn't white, she's Asian. That's not a problematic statement. Yeah, it's only a problem in context. How would anime garner the attention of voice actors? That would be ludicrous. Anyway, I really liked the touch at the end when everyone's watching the video and the home of everyone who is watching the DVD explodes into a cannon. Or one of those giant spiraling weapons. Are you not talking to me now?
No. I was reading the chat. Hold on. I have only one brain cell, okay? I need to do things slowly.
Sure.
I'm still not over what they did to Domaki. I will never be over it. My life is ruined.
Don't think the final product made the backstory of the conflict very clear. Like, if I didn't watch them go through the process of making it, I would be very confused. I agree, but I also don't think the backstory mattered for the final product. The product was an animation showcase. The story only mattered to the people making it, so that they knew what to make.
Yeah, I can agree to that. Definitely was a little bit confusing. That's definitely like the worst part of, I guess, the film they made.
You get that all the time with anime shorts, though.
Yeah. The actual parts that mattered, though, were absolutely the best, though. Like, I loved this little short. It feels weird to talk about it like it's its own original thing outside of the anime it's in. But it's so nice. It's so pleasant.
No, it is very nice.
It's a beautiful, just description of just conflict, and just like trying to save as many as you can, and it just doesn't work out, but you just keep going, and it's really beautiful.
No, and completely unrelated to the emotional impact of the work at all, I did love Midori's insistence on using the invisible laser.
Yeah. You gotta have that invisible laser because you can't see lasers normally.
Yep.
I love that. Even though at the same time, Midori's also the person who's like, we gotta make the wind visible.
Well, that's not contradictory, because she also said, yeah, we have to make the invisible laser visible. And here's how we do it.
That's fair, yeah.
So no, like, they succeeded, they did it, they did the conflict, they sold all their DVDs. Good job.
And I always get confused by how people get confused by the ending.
Yeah? How so?
Everyone I see, like if you just go into Crunchyroll comments or certain other places that have comments that I can't say on YouTube. A lot of people talk about like why there's just giant buildings popping out of the ground in people's houses, and it's
what do you mean?
Because they watched the film.
How do you get 12 episodes into this and not understand? Is it because it wasn't watercolor?
Like legit, I was very confused at why people were confused at just the idea is perfect that people are they saw what somebody made and they thought somebody made this anime.
Mm-hmm.
And there are now a bunch of Midoris ready to come out and put their own take on the world out there.
Yeah. No. I don't understand how you couldn't get it if you got this far in.
And then we got the long shot of all of everyone's animations just showing up and showing how creative this beautiful weird ass world is.
Mm-hmm. I did love the Brady Bunch style multi-square cut of everyone putting the DVDs into their DVD players.
Oh yeah.
And like, we don't. Who the fuck are these people? Like,
they're just random people.
I know they're
and
just
we're gonna
random people,
explode
but
their
I
TVs.
I love that the center square that lingered longer than anyone else's was just some random guy. Like, who?
Some guy who is debating putting in the movie or not.
Should I? Is this really worth? Is this a virus? Like.
And then it was so epic and cool and awesome. All of their TVs
That is how
violently
exploded. Yeah.
And you watch Midori right before she fucking passes out.
Mm-hmm.
She just gets this giant wave of satisfaction just out of everything that's come together to make this.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first product that she is wholly like satisfied with. There's still things she could do different, that she wants to do different. But this is one that she can say, I did great.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Would Eizouken be better if they showed content creators reviewing their film? No.
I think that would be worse.
I think that would be worse. Just because I think...
Would Eizouken be made better if there were two people on YouTube discussing the show?
If we MST3K'd it?
A small group.
Let's just do MST3K.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if that would make Eizouken better, but it made me enjoy it more. Yeah, I think that Eizouken is just such a personal story that already doesn't focus enough on its characters, that adding anybody else with any significance would be a big mistake. Anyway,
I guess we can just wrap up our thoughts on it.
We can go to closing comments.
For once, we can go to closing comments.
Yeah. I think that this show tried to do a lot of things that are really cool, or at least it had ambition to do a lot of things that were really cool. Obviously, I think it's beautiful. And the only problem I think it really has is that it has 10 more episodes than it needs. Like, they achieved all of their goals in the first 2 episodes and then had to keep going. And I feel like if this were just an OVA, it would be perfect and one of my favorite things. But it's not. It drags on. The characters aren't... they aren't deep enough, or they aren't well-rounded enough, or they aren't explored enough, or they aren't interesting enough to carry this show for 12 episodes. The conflicts are unnecessary and mostly not even resolved. They're just dropped. When the conflicts are earned, they're introduced so late that it helps out with maybe like 1 or 2 episodes. But yeah, it's not something I'm ever going to go back to. I might recommend it to other people, just if I think that they'll appreciate the vibes, but nothing that impressed me too much.
For me, I say this show is a solid 8 out of 10 show for me. It's I enjoy the vibes. I enjoy the characters. It's kind of just a straight line, but it's something that I can sit back after a long day and just relax to and feel like I have lived in this world before.
Mm-hmm.
It's something where if I need a boost of creative passion, I can put on an episode from this and really feel that drive to just get out there and put something out into the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I will give you that. I can absolutely see why it would be very good for a little quick jolt of inspiration. Scrub, for people who liked this show, what would you suggest they watch?
For just a recommendation,
Mm-hmm.
that's a tough one. There aren't many shows quite like it.
It's true.
Um, the best I can point to would be um, just anything that you see as creative. Just look for. I would honestly say, if you loved this show, just try to find that one movie or show that made you feel like Midori did in episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
If you loved this show, you need to search for your inspiration.
That's one of the most charming cop-out answers I've ever heard.
Thank you. I worked really hard on copying it out.
Let's see here. If you actually want recommendations that are like Eizouken, my number one would be Comic Girls. Comic Girls is a cute girls doing cute things show about 4 aspiring mangaka who all live in the same student housing building. It's very charming. The characters are fun. And it gets it can get very emotional and into what it's like to be a young creative person. In some surprising ways. I personally, it's very rare for me to rate things super highly, but it's got a 9 out of 10 episode, I think. One of the later ones. Let's see what else we've got here. No Biori has very similar vibes. I know I talked about it a lot today. But if you like the simple characters in Eizouken and you want to see people interact in a very low-stakes environment with the same kind of childlike imagination, then No Biori has very similar vibes. And it looks like I have scrolled all the way through my mal. So those are my 2 recommendations.
All right. Well, we have 15 minutes left. I suppose we can use that time to
nominate.
To nominate, yeah.
Scrub, you go first.
All right. Well, movies still aren't on the table.
Correct.
From what I can understand. So unfortunately, I can't nominate Bionicle 3: Web of Shadows.
That's correct. You cannot.
Unfortunately, even though it's high art, and I'm sure the chat would agree with me. So instead, I'll just have to go with this little-known anime that not many people remember. I don't think it scored that highly. It's called Death Parade.
Mm-hmm. I would love to watch Death Parade again, even though I watched it pretty recently.
I especially would like to watch Death Parade again because I did not like it.
That would be fun then. Yeah, Death Parade is a good pick. Do I want to recommend Comic Girls or Wonder Egg Priority? Because talking about Wonder Egg Priority would be great, and this is the best chance it's going to get to win. What do you think, chat? Comic Girls or Wonder Egg?
Vote now on your phones.
One Direction. Isn't Wonder Egg not good? Wonder Egg is horrendous. It's not just not good, it is offensive.
What's one show you wish you could remove your brain just so you could watch it again for the first time?
Steins Gate?
Name a Miyazaki film.
Probably Steins Gate.
Honestly, you know what? I'd probably pick the first anime that got me into anime, which is Lupin, the third part 2.
Hmm. Tenek wants us to talk about Wonder Egg. Tino just asked if Condor Egg isn't good. I thought it was intriguing. It was until it stopped being intriguing and decided to be awful instead.
Condor eggs are okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you want a more crazy egg, I would recommend ostrich.
Yeah.
I hear some people go kind of crazy for quail eggs, but I think those are pretty expensive. I mean, just stick to normal chicken.
Yeah, stick with chicken.
Ostrich if you want something that's like super fucking rich.
Mm-hmm. Nobody else is recommending anything. I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna propose Wonder Egg priority.
Egg. Wonder Egg versus Death Parade. Well, looks like Wonder Egg's probably gonna win because it's more recent.
I'm not sure about that. People really like Death Parade.
I can't wait to talk about how I enjoyed the first 2 episodes and didn't like the rest of it.
I can see that. I just really like... I really like high concept stuff that doesn't get up its own ass. So just the idea of the bar where you go when you die at the same time as someone else hits me, and the aesthetic is really cool. And I'm a huge fan of death games.
At the same time, I did watch this show, like, God, how old was I? I was like in high school or like starting college, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, either way, I was an absolute tool.
Sure.
Then. So
fair enough.
Maybe my opinion on it has changed.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's anything all that special. I liked it, but I think most of the big important things about it are just okay. It's the details that I like a lot. Have I read or watched One Piece? No. I probably won't. Anyway, that's going to be the poll. It's going to be Death Parade versus Wonder Egg Priority in a knockout, drag-out cage fight.
Yeah, I can't wait for you to suggest, hey, what if we did reading 100 chapters of One Piece each month? Because that's been really popular lately.
Let's just do Worm.
That's so true.
We're going to read Worm for the next anime club. You have a month to read Worm.
There. No, actually, no. Throw that on there on the discussion on the poll.
No, I'm not gonna throw read Worm, you fucks, on the poll. I'm gonna keep asking. Mm-hmm. Every time I mention Worm in a stream, there's somebody who's like, "What's Worm?" And I'm like, "You want to know?" But like, I feel bad not giving Wild Bow the publicity, but I also don't want people to know about Worm.
So you want to gatekeep it?
I do want to gatekeep Worm. I've seen what happens when you don't gatekeep your hobbies. They get ruined.
Rest in peace, Commander format.
Yeah, seriously. Rest in peace, Magic the Gathering. Take that, you worm. Dmua gets it. Anyway, that's going to be the stream, folks. I hope you all enjoyed. I hope you all walked away with a new appreciation or depreciation for Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken, depending on whoever's side you were on. Next time, we'll be talking about either Wonder Egg Priority or Death Parade, depending on what wins the poll. If you would like to get in on that discussion for yourself, you can go to patreon.com/explanationpoint to figure out how to join our Discord and how to get in on this Discord call, where you can be part of the video, all on your own. Until next week, when we're going to be around playing some games, I hope you all have a good time. Gooby will miss you. Bye.